So I quit my job and went into real estate full time. 4 years ago yesterday, I closed on my very first house as a professional real estate broker. The average real estate broker sells about 7 houses a year. Now, my wife and I have always been a big fan of real estate, as far as owning it and living in it. So we went to sell our very first house, and we were planning on building a house. We interviewed 3 agents, just like all the websites say. We did all the right things, and we ended up hiring somebody. And what happened is they came with their little point and shoot camera and they took pictures of our house. The marketing was terrible. 6 months went by and we didn't have a single showing on that house. Worse yet, we were completely left in the dark. I spent 6 months trying to get a hold of this guy. He'd return a phone call with an email 4 days later, that kind of thing. At the same time, I was working in the oil and gas industry as a traveling salesman. I was spending about 100 nights a year in a hotel. I was so frustrated with the experience that I had with a real estate broker as a consumer that I'll digress a little bit. Basically, my job consisted of traveling quite a bit. So I flew into Minot, North Dakota one week, and I drove all the way back making sales calls all the way. I flew in on a Sunday afternoon, came rolling in on a Saturday afternoon. I get back into the house. The kids are acting crazy, and my wife is exhausted because she's been dealing with the kids all week by herself, once again. And I was kind of frustrated, disenfranchised with the experience that I had with that first real estate broker. And the oil prices were dipping again, and I had ridden the roller coaster of oil prices and natural gas prices for about 9 years at this point. And I leaned over and I told my wife that I was going to quit my job and go into real estate full time. And she kind of chuckled. And if you know my wife, you know that she's the most supportive person in the world. So she didn't really think much of it. 3 weeks later, I'm in Casper, Wyoming, sitting down on the bed, just resting because I've been driving all day through 50-mile-per-hour winds. And my wife gives me a call. And she says, "Hey, this really heavy box just showed up on the front porch. What is it?" And I said, "I don't know. You should open it." And so she opens it, and she realizes that there are real estate books inside. And she goes, "Oh, it's like books." And I was like, "Oh, those are my real estate books." And she goes, "Oh, you were being serious when you said you were going to quit your job and go into real estate." And I said, "Babe, I am dead serious. I need a better life-work balance. I need to be able to transform the way real estate is marketed in San Juan County." And so we came up with a game plan. And 5 months later, I walked into my boss's office and I gave him notice. As you well know, an outside salesman in the oil and gas industry, once you give notice, they kind of just let you go. So I walked into my office. My knees were shaking. I had never sold a single house at this point. I had my license, but I didn't want to do it halfway. I didn't want to dip my toe in the water and test real estate over here. I wanted to jump in and jump into the deep end and see if I could swim. We had about 6 months of savings in the bank, and it took us about 4 months to sell that first house. Since then, we've sold 350 houses. What most people don't realize is that first year, I didn't take a single day off. I didn't take my family on vacation. I worked every single day. I still work an average of 50 to 60 hours a week because our clients deserve that. But what we were able to do is we were the first to use Facebook Live to promote a property. We were the first to use a licensed drone pilot. We were the first to use professional photographer on every listing, no matter what, every single time. And my goal was to transform the way real estate was marketed. And I think we've accomplished that. And I share my story not to brag, but just to say, if you're thinking about chasing your dreams, come up with a plan, get your money together, get your finances in order, and jump. It's a lot of fun. It's been incredibly rewarding for me. I'll never forget that first day not working a W-2 job. And the freedom I have now is pretty amazing. I work harder than anybody, but I put those hours where I want them. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my story.